Ambassador Park Ji-woo stepped into the massive Galactic Council chamber, her boots echoing against the polished crystal floor. The room stretched upward like a cathedral, with floating platforms hosting delegates from across the galaxy. Alien voices created a symphony of clicks, hisses, and electronic tones that made her translator implant work over time. She wore Earth's standard diplomatic uniform, simple black, fabric that looked almost primitive next to the gleaming armor and biosuits. Surrounding her, the Calrathi delegates' exoskeletons sparkled with embedded weapons, while the Etherian representative floated in a containment field that shimmered like captured starlight. Even the plant-like Verdani had grafted metal spines into their bark-skin. Goo felt every alien I turned toward her as she approached the central podium. Some species saw through compound eyes, others used echolocation, and a few perceived her through electromagnetic fields.
Oh.
All of them looked at her the same way, like she was prey. The human delegation will now present Earth's annual military assessment, announced the chamber's AI in a voice that somehow managed to sound bored in 17 different languages. Goo activated her holographic display with a touch of her wrist device. The numbers appeared in the air above the podium, glowing blue against the dim lighting. 300 ships, basic projectile weapons, chemical rocket propulsion, defensive shield technology rated at Class C efficiency. The reaction was immediate. The Calrathi delegates' mandibles started clicking rapidly, their version of laughter. The sound spread through his section like breaking glass. The gaseous Etherians began pulsing bright orange and yellow, colors that her translator cheerfully informed her meant amusement and contempt. Chancellor Vexstar of the Dominion Worlds rose from his floating throne, his 7-foot frame casting a shadow across the chamber. His species looked almost human except for the metallic implants covering half his face and the extra pair of arms that emerged from his torso. Those arms were currently gesturing at GIU's display with theatrical disbelief. This is what passes for military strength among the humans? His voice boomed through the chamber's acoustics. 300 vessels? My personal yacht has a bigger escort fleet. Commander Thale of the Razor Syndicate let out a bark of laughter. Her species resembled bipedal sharks with cybernetic enhancements, and her laugh showed rows of razor-sharp teeth. I've seen mining operations with better defenses than Earth's entire military. Giwu kept her expression neutral, though her hands tightened on the podium's edge. Out. Earth maintains a defensive posture, honored delegates. We believe in peace through diplomatic solutions rather than peace through weakness. Commander Thale interrupted her artificial eye worry as it focused on Ji-woo. Tell me, human, what happens when someone stronger decides they want what you have? The chamber erupted in alien sounds that her translator rendered as agreement, mockery, and predatory interest. The Verdani rustled their leaf clusters in what passed for their version of applause. Chancellor? Vexstar spread all 4 of his arms wide. The galaxy has changed since humanity earned their seat at this council. Trade routes need protection. Resources require guardians who can actually guard them. His metallic implants gleamed as his artificial eye targeted Ji-woo. Perhaps it's time we redistributed Earth's territories to species capable of defending them. The vote happened faster than Ji-woo expected. Species after species cast their holograms into the voting sphere at the chamber center. Green lights for agreement, red for opposition. The sphere filled with green until it looked like a toxic star. Earth's prime trade routes. The hyperspace lanes that connected Sol to the richest systems in human space were reassigned to the Dominion and Syndicate fleets. Humanity's mining rights in the Centauri cluster went to the Calrathi. Even their diplomatic status was downgraded from sovereign member to protected tributary. The aliens celebrated like they'd just won a war. Chancellor Vexstar's species had a tradition of victory roars that sounded like starship engines exploding. The Etherians swirled in patterns that painted the chamber ceiling with shifting colors. Even the usually stoic Verdani were dropping seed pods in what Ji-woo realized was their equivalent of throwing confetti. As the celebration continued, Ji-woo quietly gathered her data tablets and prepared to leave. The holographic display still showed Earth's pathetic military numbers, marked with red warning symbols indicating their new tributary status. Chancellor Vexstar descended from his throne and approached her. His metallic face twisted into what might have been a smile. Nothing personal. Human. This is simply how the galaxy works. The strong take from the weak. Chuwu met his gaze without flinching. You're making a mistake, Chancellor. His laugh was like grinding metal. The only mistake was giving your primitive species a seat at this table in the first place. You should be grateful we're letting you keep your homeworld. As the alien delegates filed out of the chamber, still celebrating their victory, Juwu walked alone to her transport ship. The vessel was small and unremarkable, exactly what the galaxy expected from humanity. She settled into the pilot's seat and activated the quantum communicator with a simple voice command. The screen flickered to life, showing the face of Admiral Ko Sungmin. His weathered features and steel-gray hair told the story of battles fought in the darkness between stars. Scars on his neck suggested close encounters with alien claws, while his cybernetic left eye meant he'd survived something that should have killed him. They took the bait, Juwu reported, her diplomatic mask finally falling away to reveal cold satisfaction. Sungmin's expression didn't change. His artificial eye whirred softly as it focused on her. All of it. Trade routes, military dismissal, tributary status. They think we're defenseless prey waiting to be divided up among themselves. Perfect. The Admiral's smile was thin and sharp as a blade. Signal all Shadow Fleet commanders. Authorization code Omega-77 Alpha. He paused, and for a moment, Giwu could see the old warrior calculating odds and probabilities. It's time for Operation Awakening.
The communication ended, leaving
Giwu alone with the stars. Through her viewport, she could see the alien ships departing the Council Station, their hulls gleaming with weapons and shields. They thought they'd just witnessed humanity's humiliation. They had no idea. They just signed their own death warrants. Captain Lee Haewon felt the indomitable shudder as massive clamps released their grip on the asteroid shell that had hidden her ship for 10 years. Through the bridge viewport, she watched chunks of fake rock drift away, revealing the sleek black hull of humanity's most advanced dreadnought. The ship stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, bristling with weapons that didn't appear on any official Earth's military catalog. Mining Station Alpha 7 is shedding its disguise, reported Lieutenant Kim Dae-yoon from her tactical station. The young officer's fingers danced across holographic controls as data streams filled the air around her. The Retribution is fully operational. Captain Park reports all systems green. Haewon nodded as she watched another asteroid crack, open like an egg. The Vengeance emerged slowly, its hull reflecting starlight like black mirror. Weapon ports opened along its sides, revealing particle cannons that could punch through planetary shields. What about the Reckoning? Captain Cho signals ready for combat operations, Dae-yoon replied. All Shadow Fleet vessels are responding to awakening protocols. Stealth systems coming online now. The 3 massive warships began to shimmer and fade as their cloaking technology activated. Advanced metamaterials bent light around their hulls, making them invisible to most scanning methods. To any observer, the asteroid belt would look exactly as it had for decades, just floating rocks and automated mining equipment. Signal Admiral Sungmin, Haewon ordered. Shadow Fleet is awake and ready to hunt. 300 light-years away. On Earth, Dr. Yoon Sejin rode the high-speed elevator down into the Siberian facility that appeared on no government maps. The elevator shaft descended through solid rock for over a kilometer before reaching the hidden complex. Motion sensors detected her approach and began illuminating the corridor ahead with soft blue light. Her breath misted in the cold air. As she walked through security checkpoints that scanned everything from her DNA to her brainwave patterns, the final door required her to place both palms on biometric scanners while stating her authorization code aloud. Dr. Yoon Sejin, requesting access to Project Phoenix. Authorization, Omega-7 Alpha, Da. The massive vault door split open with a hiss of equalizing air pressure. Beyond lay a chamber the size of an aircraft hangar, filled with rows upon rows of combat mechs standing at perfect attention. Each machine stood 12 feet tall, their humanoid frames covered in adaptive armor that could shift color and texture. To match any environment, their heads were sleek and predatory, with multiple optical sensors that could track targets across vast distances. Phoenix Protocol activated, Sujin announced to the empty chamber. Her voice echoed off the metal walls as emergency lighting bathed everything in red. All units prepare for deployment authorization. The response was immediate and terrifying. Hundreds of optical sensors blazed to life simultaneously, filling the chamber with points of blue light like fallen stars. The mechs remained motionless. But Sujin could hear their internal systems coming online, the whisper of cooling fans, the hum of power cores, the soft click of weapon systems running diagnostic checks. Each Phoenix unit carried enough firepower to level a city block. Their adaptive camouflage could make them invisible in any terrain, while their AI cores could process battlefield information faster than any organic brain. They had been humanity's deepest secret for 3 decades, built in facilities hidden across the solar system while the galaxy assumed humans used only conventional military technology. "All units report combat ready," announced the facility's AI in a voice like grinding steel, awaiting deployment orders. Sujin smiled as she watched humanity's ultimate weapons wake from their long sleep. The aliens thought they knew what humans were capable of. They were about to learn how wrong they were. On Luna Base, Admiral Ko Seung-min stood in the war room, surrounded by holographic displays that would have given the Galactic Council nightmares. The chamber's walls showed the true scope of human military power, fleets hidden in asteroid fields, weapon platforms disguised as space stations, and automated defense systems scattered throughout human space like deadly seeds. What the Council had catalogued as 300 ships was actually just Earth's patrol fleet, the vessels visible enough to maintain the illusion of weakness. The real human military consisted of thousands of warships, each one more advanced than anything the aliens possessed. Battle stations disguised as research facilities could sterilize entire star systems. Automated factories in the outer planets had been building weapons for decades, all while maintaining the facade of peaceful colonization. Colonel Park Min-ho Seung-min addressed his intelligence chief, a lean man whose cybernetic implants made him look more machine than human. "Begin Phase 1 operations. It's time to remind the galaxy why humanity earned their seat at that council table." Park's smile revealed teeth that had been replaced with titanium implants. "Which targets shall we prioritize, Admiral?" Seung-min gestured at the tactical display showing the Dominion's territories. Chancellor Vexstar was particularly vocal about human weakness. "Let's start with his impenetrable fortress at Kepler 442. I want to show him what human engineering can accomplish when we stop pretending to be primitive." The fortress at Kepler 442 was the Dominion's greatest pride, a massive structure built into an asteroid. It could house 1 million beings and bristled with enough weapons to destroy fleets. Its shields had never been breached. Its defenses had never been tested by a serious threat. The Dominion considered it their unassailable stronghold. They were about to discover that humans had been studying it for years, mapping every weakness, cataloging every system, preparing for this exact moment. "Initiate Operation Reminder," Seung-min commanded. "Signal all Shadow Fleet units. Tell them the hunt begins now." Across human space, warships that had been sleeping for decades began to move. Weapons platforms shed their disguises, combat mechs activated in hidden facilities. The galaxy had dismissed humanity as weak prey, suitable only for tributary status. They were about to learn that the most dangerous predator is the one that lets you think it's helpless right up until the moment it strikes. Sergeant Choi Jin-woo felt the strange tingling sensation as his body dissolved into quantum particles and reassembled inside the Dominion fortress. The experimental teleportation technology was still new, but it worked perfectly. One moment he was aboard the stealth ship Phantom. The next he was standing in the fortress's reactor core surrounded by massive energy conduits that hummed. With deadly power, "Ghost Team in position," he whispered into his throat. "Come," his voice barely audible even to himself. His 5-man infiltration team materialized around him like ghosts becoming solid. Their adaptive armor shifted color and texture to match the metallic walls, making them nearly invisible in the dim reactor lighting. The fortress at Kepler 442 was the size of a small moon, carved from a massive asteroid and reinforced with Dominion super metals. Shields could stop planet-killing weapons, and its defensive arrays could vaporize entire fleets. But all that power meant nothing when the enemy was already inside. Jinwoo's team moved through the corridors like living shadows. Their armor didn't just bend light, it absorbed sound, masked heat signatures, and even neutralized their scent. The Dominion guards they passed never knew death was walking beside them. When they reached the main control center, Jinwoo placed a small device on the central computer core. "Virus uploaded," he reported. 30 seconds until we own their entire system. The fortress's AI never saw it coming. Human cyber warfare specialists had been studying Dominion computer systems for years, mapping every weakness and preparing digital weapons specifically designed to tear through their security. Within moments, every system in the fortress was under human control. What happened next was beautiful in its terrible simplicity. The fortress's massive particle cannons, designed to protect the Dominion fleet, slowly turned toward their own ships. The weapons that could crack planets focused their fury on the dreadnoughts floating nearby in perfect formation. Acquired, Jinwoo announced with cold satisfaction, firing. The first beam cut through the Dominion flagship like a hot knife through butter. The massive warship simply vanished in a flash of superheated plasma. The second and third beams followed immediately, erasing 2 more dreadnoughts from existence. Within minutes, Impenetrable Fortress had destroyed half the Dominion's most powerful fleet using their own weapons. Panic spread through the Dominion ships as they realized their fortress had turned against them. Some tried to flee, but their own defensive platforms, now under human control, cut them down with precision fire. Others attempted to fight back, only to discover their weapons couldn't penetrate the fortress's shields. "Mission accomplished," Jinwoo reported as he watched the last Dominion ship explode. "Fortress secured. No survivors." 3 star systems away. Captain Han the Jin sat in the command chair of the stealth destroyer Silent Death, watching her prey through advanced sensors. The Razor Syndicate supply convoy consisted of 12 massive cargo ships surrounded by an escort of 20 armed vessels. They moved through hyperspace in perfect formation, completely unaware that Death was stalking them. The Silent Death was a masterpiece of human engineering, a ship designed for one purpose only. Its hull was coated with metamaterials that made it invisible to every known scanning method. Its weapons were built for surgical strikes that left no witnesses. Most importantly, it could fire while remaining cloaked, all targets confirmed. Reported her weapons officer, Lieutenant Park Sang-ho. "Convoy is maintaining course. No indication they've detected us." The Gin smiled coldly. "Fire." The Silent Death's main weapon was a gravity lance, a focused beam that could collapse matter at the atomic level. The first shot erased the convoy's flagship in a sphere of twisted space-time. The second and third shots followed before the aliens even realized they were under attack. The remaining ships scattered in panic, but they had nowhere to run. The Silent Death could fire faster than they could turn, and every shot was perfectly aimed. Within 3 minutes, 21 ships had become expanding clouds of debris. Confirmed kills on all targets, the Jin reported to Fleet Command. "No survivors to report our capabilities. Convoy eliminated without a trace." The attack on the Etherian gas colonies required a different approach entirely. Major Lim Jae-sung stood on the bridge of the atmospheric warfare ship Stormcaller. Watching the swirling gas clouds that the Etherians called home, these beings existed as living gas, flowing through their artificial atmosphere like colorful aurora. They thought their gaseous nature made them impossible to kill with conventional weapons. They were wrong. "Atmospheric disruptors ready," reported his science officer, Dr. Kim Minesio. "Weapons are calibrated specifically for Etherian biology. This will target their molecular bonds directly." The disruptors were invisible death. Weapons that didn't destroy matter, but instead tore apart the specific chemical processes that allowed Etherians to exist. When the device is activated, the beautiful swirling colors of the colonies began to fade and separate like oil breaking apart in water. The Etherians tried to flee, but the disruptors followed them through their atmosphere, unraveling their very existence. Those that managed to escape their dying colonies spread panic throughout Etherian space with tales of invisible, human weapons that could kill beings thought to be immortal. Within 7 days, the 3 most powerful military forces in the galaxy were in ruins. The Dominion had lost 60% of their fleet to their own weapons. The Razor Syndicate's supply lines were severed, leaving their forces stranded in deep space without fuel or supplies. The Etherian colonies were evacuating en masse, the survivors telling stories of human warriors who could kill the unkillable. Chancellor Vexstar stood in his war room, staring at tactical displays that showed the destruction of his empire. His forearms shook with rage and terror as reports flooded in from across Dominion space. Fleet after fleet had simply vanished, destroyed by enemies that seemed to appear from nowhere and disappear just as quickly. "How is this possible?" he roared at his tactical advisor, Commander Nexval. "Our intelligence showed the humans had 300 primitive ships. How are they destroying forces that could conquer star systems?" Nexval's metallic implants sparked with stress as he processed the incoming data. "Sir, our deep space sensors have detected at least 2,000 human vessels, all using technology we've never encountered before. These aren't the chemical propulsion ships we cataloged. They're using advanced stealth systems, gravity weapons, and quantum tunneling technology that shouldn't exist." The commander's voice dropped to a whisper. "Sir, our analysts believe this. Still, isn't their full strength. The humans have been hiding their true capabilities for decades." Vexstar's artificial eye word as it focused on the tactical display, showing human ships appearing and disappearing like ghosts. "Get me an emergency session with the Galactic Council now." But even as he gave the order, Vexstar knew it might already be too late. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were hunting, and they were very, very good at it. The emergency klaxons had been screaming for 6 hours, straight when Ambassador Park Ji-Wu's transport ship docked with the Galactic Council station. The sound echoed through corridors filled with panicking aliens as reports continued flooding in from across the galaxy. 3 of the most powerful military forces were being torn apart by enemies that appeared from nowhere and vanished like ghosts. Ju stepped off her transport, but this time she wasn't alone. Admiral Ko Sung-min walked beside her in his full military dress uniform, the medals on his chest telling stories of battles fought in the darkness between stars. His cybernetic eye glowed softly as it scanned the alien security forces, analyzing their weapons and armor with cold precision. Behind them marched General Bei Teha and a squad of human marines in powered armor that made them look like walking death machines. Each suit stood 8 feet tall and bristled with weapons that could level buildings. Their helmets showed no faces, only glowing optical sensors that tracked every movement in the corridor. The aliens pressed themselves against the walls as the humans passed, instinctively recognizing apex predators when they saw them. The massive doors to the council chamber opened with a pneumatic hiss, revealing a scene of barely controlled chaos. Delegates from dozens of species were shouting at each other in their native tongues, while holographic displays showed the destruction spreading across their territories. The elegant crystal spires that normally filled the chamber with beautiful light now flickered like warning beacons. The moment Ji-Wu and her escort entered, the chamber fell silent. Every alien eye turned toward the humans, and for the first time in galactic history, the council chamber was filled with fear instead of arrogance. "You called for an emergency session," Ji-Wu said calmly, as she took her place at the human delegation podium. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber without amplification. "I assume you want to discuss the recent incidents affecting your military forces." Chancellor Vexstar rose from his floating throne, but his once proud bearing was now desperate and shaking. His metallic implants sparked with stress as he pointed an accusing finger at the human delegation. This unprovoked aggression must stop immediately. The Galactic Council demands nothing." Admiral Sungmin interrupted, his voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. His artificial eye focused on Vexstar with mechanical precision. "You seem to be under the impression that you hold authority over humanity. Allow me to correct that dangerous misconception." The chamber's holographic displays suddenly activated without anyone touching the controls. The images that appeared made several delegates gasp. In terror, hidden fortress worlds throughout human space revealed themselves, their surfaces covered in weapons that could sterilize star systems. Massive fleet formations emerged from asteroid fields and nebulae, showing ships that dwarfed anything the Council had ever assembled. "What you're seeing," Admiral Sungmin announced, "is the true scope of human military capability. Those 300 ships you laughed at? They were our patrol fleet, the minimum force we maintain for appearances." The display shifted to show battle stations disguised as research facilities. Manufacturing complexes that had been secretly building weapons for decades, and automated defense platforms scattered throughout human space like deadly seeds waiting to bloom. General Bei Taihan stepped forward, his own cybernetic implants gleaming under the chamber's lights. "For 30 years, humanity has maintained what we call strategic deception. You assumed our peaceful diplomatic approach meant weakness. You were catastrophically wrong." The images changed again, showing Phoenix combat mechs deployed across alien worlds. The machines moved through urban areas like metal ghosts, their adaptive camouflage making them nearly invisible as they took strategic positions. Their weapons were aimed at government buildings, military installations, and population centers. Dr. Yoon Soo-jin emerged from behind the Marine escort, her scientific credentials floating above her head in holographic text. "The Phoenix units, currently positioned throughout your territories, are equipped with quantum disruptors and molecular assembly weapons. Each unit is capable of rendering an entire world uninhabitable through targeted ecological collapse. We have 10,000 of them deployed and ready." Commander Thale, of the Razor Syndicate, her shark-like features twisted with desperation, fell to her knees on her floating platform. "Please, we surrender. Call off your forces. We'll return the trade routes. Restore your status. Anything you want." Ji-woo's laugh was cold as winter in deep space. "Surrender? Commander, you seem to misunderstand the situation. This isn't a war. This is a reminder. You wanted to see humanity's true power because you thought we were weak prey suitable only for tributary status." The chamber erupted in panicked discussions as species representatives realized they were facing something far beyond their understanding. The plant-like Verdani were releasing distress pheromones that made the air thick with the smell of fear. The gaseous Etherians pulsed with colors that their translators rendered as terror and desperation. Admiral Lee Sun-min walked to the center of the chamber, his presence commanding absolute attention. "Let me explain something to all of you. Humanity's previous restraint was never weakness. It was mercy, and mercy is a choice we can unmake." He gestured at the holographic displays showing human forces positioned throughout the galaxy. "Every species in this chamber could be extinct within 72 hours. Your worlds could be empty. Rocks floating in space, your fleets could be debris fields. Your entire civilizations could be footnotes in human history books." The chamber's AI systems suddenly came online with a voice that sounded distinctly human. "All Galactic Council defense systems are now under human control. Station weapons are targeting critical systems of all non-human vessels in the area. Resistance is not recommended." Chancellor Vextar's forearms trembled as he realized the scope of human preparation. "How long have you been planning this?" Ji-woo smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Since the day we first applied for council membership, we learned very quickly that the galaxy respects only strength. So we made ourselves strong while letting you believe we were weak." General Bei activated another holographic display showing human manufacturing capacity that had been hidden for decades. Every mining operation you thought was peaceful resource extraction was actually a weapons factory. Every research station was a military base. Every trade mission was reconnaissance. The aliens sat in stunned silence as they realized they had been completely outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The humans hadn't just been hiding their strength, they had been studying every weakness, mapping every system, preparing for this exact moment. "The demonstration will continue," Admiral Sung-min announced with mechanical precision, "till every species understands one fundamental truth. Humanity's place in this galaxy is not subject to your approval." 6 months had passed since the galaxy learned what human power truly meant. The Galactic Council chamber looked completely different now. Gone were the arrogant displays of alien superiority, replaced by a quiet efficiency that spoke of absolute order. Supreme Chancellor Park Ji-woo sat in the highest seat, a throne that had been rebuilt to human specifications. The crystalline spires around her pulsed with a soft blue light that matched her calm demeanor. But everyone knew the real power lay in the Phoenix mechs, standing silently in the shadows. The morning briefings had become a ritual of submission. Former Chancellor Vexstar approached Ji-woo's throne with careful, measured steps. His once proud metallic implants now bore scorch marks from his species' failed resistance attempts. His forearms carried data tablets instead of weapons, and his artificial eye had been replaced with a human monitoring device that tracked his every movement. Supreme Chancellor, he said, with practiced humility, the Dominion's monthly tribute shipment is ready for your inspection. 50 tons of refined quantum crystals, 200 units of gravitic generators, and the technological specifications you requested for our defensive systems? Ji-woo didn't look up from her holographic reports. The displays around her showed the status of every world in human space, production quotas being met, resistance movements being crushed, and tribute flowing in from across the galaxy. Thank you, Vexstar. Are the reconstruction efforts proceeding ahead of schedule, Supreme Chancellor? The orbital shipyards destroyed in our ... misunderstanding ... have been rebuilt using human designs. Our engineers are eager to learn from human technology. His voice carried the bitter taste of a proud species learning to serve their former prey. General Gae-tae-hein entered the chamber with his daily security briefing, his powered armor boots clicking against the polished floor. His cybernetic enhancements had been upgraded with alien technology seized from conquered worlds, making him more machine than man. The Razor Syndicate has completed reconstruction of the trade stations they destroyed during their raids on human merchants. Commander Thale personally supervised the installation of the monitoring systems. He gestured at a holographic display showing the shark-like aliens working frantically to rebuild what they had destroyed.
The Etherian Collective has submitted
Their annual technology, tribute atmospheric manipulation systems, quantum communication arrays, and the molecular assembly techniques we requested. All sectors report full compliance with human oversight. Ji-woo nodded approvingly. Any resistance movements? Bei's smile showed teeth that had been replaced with titanium implants. 3 cells attempted to organize on the outer Calrathi worlds. Last week, Phoenix units responded within 6 hours. No survivors remained to spread dissent. The efficiency was terrifying in its completeness. The galaxy had learned that human mercy came with conditions, and those conditions were non-negotiable. Every world now hosted human observers, every fleet included human commanders, and every government decision required human approval. In the lower levels of the Council Station, Dr. Yoon Sojin monitored the quantum communication arrays that connected every world in what was now effectively human space. The arrays hummed with constant traffic, production reports from conquered worlds, status updates from Phoenix units deployed across the galaxy, and intelligence gathered by human agents embedded in every alien government. All networks stable. She reported to the main chamber through her neural implant. We're receiving data from 15,000 monitoring stations across 1,200 worlds. The galaxy is more connected now than it has ever been. The irony wasn't lost on her. The aliens had tried to isolate humanity, to reduce them to tributary status. Instead, they had created a surveillance network that made human control absolute. Every communication was monitored, every movement tracked, every thought that might lead to resistance identified and eliminated. Admiral Ko Seung-min joined Ji-woo on the observation deck as the station's day cycle shifted to evening mode. Through the massive transparasteel windows, they could see human warships patrolling the trade routes that had once been denied to them. The indomitable Retribution and Reckoning moved in perfect formation, their black holes reflecting the light of distant stars. Any regrets about how we handled the transition? Seung-min asked, his artificial eye tracking the movement of tribute convoys escorted by human destroyers. Gu watched a formation of Phoenix mechs march past on the station's outer hull. their adaptive armor shifting to match the metal surface. Beneath their feet, they chose this path when they decided our diplomatic approach was weakness. We offered them partnership through negotiation, preferred subjugation through strength. A group of Verdani delegates passed by the observation window, their plant-like forms moving with careful precision. The scorch marks on their bark skin told the story of their failed attempt to use biological weapons against human colonies. Now they served as agricultural specialists, their entire species dedicated to feeding the human war machine. And now? Sungmin pressed. Now they understand that humanity's previous restraint wasn't because we lacked the power to dominate them, Yuwu said quietly. It was because we chose not to exercise that power. The galaxy is more peaceful now that they know the difference between human mercy and human capability. Lieutenant Kim Da-yoon approached with the daily reports from across human space. Her young face showed the confidence of someone who had grown up in a galaxy where humans were unquestioned masters. All sectors reporting optimal production levels. Trade routes are secure. The tribute schedules are being met ahead of projections. She paused at another display showing educational programs being implemented on alien worlds. The cultural integration programs are also showing success. The younger generations of most species are learning human languages and customs. Resistance is decreasing with each generation. Gu nodded approvingly. This was the long-term solution. Not just military dominance, but cultural transformation. Within a few generations, the galaxy would think like humans, act like humans, and serve human interests, not out of fear, but out of genuine loyalty. As the binary sun set over the council station, casting long shadows through the chamber, Jiwoo reflected on humanity's incredible journey. 6 months ago, they had been dismissed as weak tributaries, suitable only for exploitation. Now, they were the ultimate arbiters of galactic peace. Their word law across thousands of worlds. The aliens had learned too late that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their fleets. It was their ability to appear weak while becoming strong, to offer mercy while preparing for war, and to rule with justice after demonstrating their capacity for total destruction. Commander Thale appeared on one of the communication screens, her shark-like features showing the exhaustion of someone who had learned the price of underestimating humans. Supreme Chancellor, the Syndicate's annual loyalty ceremony is prepared. All fleet commanders will swear their oaths of service to human authority. Excellent, Jiwoo replied. Make sure the ceremony is broadcast across all networks. The galaxy should see that even the most predatory species can learn to serve a greater purpose. The transformation was complete. The galaxy that had once mocked humanity's weakness now trembled at their strength. Peace reigned not through diplomacy or mutual respect, but through the absolute certainty that resistance meant extinction, as the station entered its night cycle. Guhu stood alone on the observation deck, watching human ships patrol the void. They had taught the galaxy the most important lesson in the universe. Never mistake human. It's mercy for human weakness. The stars themselves seemed to acknowledge humanity's dominion, their light reflecting off the hulls of ships that had once been hidden in asteroid fields and nebulae. The hunt was over. The galaxy had learned its place, and humanity would never let them forget it. The END.